At this point, the disciples stumble back into the scene, astonished at what they see. Jesus, their teacher, deep in conversation with a woman, a Samaritan woman. You can always count on the disciples to miss the point. They're so distracted by their expectations, they can't wrap their heads around the many boundaries that Jesus transgresses. We can't be too hard on them, I know. If we try, though, I think through their eyes we may be able to catch a glimpse of our own unspoken prejudices, the people we would quickly discount, the imaginary threats we see in those we label as less than ourselves. Luckily for us, and for the people back in the village, the woman ignores their scandalized reactions. She turns and heads back into town, with the disciples' mouths still wide open in disbelief behind her. She also leaves behind her water jar. Did she forget it? Or is it a gift to Jesus? Or could it be in recognition that she has now met the source of living water? When she gets back to the village, she echoes the invitations of Jesus and Philip from the first chapter of John. Come and see, the woman tells the people she meets. Come and see a man who told me everything I've ever done. He cannot be the Messiah, can he? Her invitation contains within it a question. Perhaps it's uncertainty still on her part, but how honest and hopeful it is to have someone share their faith without the trappings of rigid certainty and judgment. She's not telling folks what to believe or threatening them with divine judgment. She's certainly not pushing her own developing understanding of God without a space to engage those she meets. The town responds to her excited invitation. How much easier is it to listen to the testimony, to the faith journey of someone when they're not demanding that you have the same point of view? There's no coercion here. There's just invitation. And in the responding, we are attracted to and challenged by the presence of Jesus. As the Samaritan woman is being transformed because of her own theological conversations with Jesus, so too are the townfolk. And soon they invite him back to the village to stay for 2 more days. So much for a shortcut through Samaria. Can you imagine the conversations, though? Samaritans and Jews sitting at table together, discovering their shared stories, dealing openly with their long-held grievances, giving and receiving hospitality from former enemies. You know, when those first disciples decided to say yes to the invitation to come and see, little did they know how much their worldview would be upended. Jesus takes them on a journey into the midst of their prejudices. He doesn't flinch in unfamiliar territories. Instead, he reaches out. He listens to others, really listens to their stories, their traditions, their hopes and dreams. Could those first disciples have imagined they'd be letting go of so many things? When you're with Jesus, hold on to your hats, because the creative force of the Spirit is blowing unfettered wherever he goes. No matter how much we might protest, the holy creativity of God isn't contained by our familiar maps or our comfortable boundaries. Here we find Jesus, and in Jesus we see the revealing of the creative Word of God, flowing freely as living water from a sacred spring. A word which is always invitational, a word that's always open, always working toward reconciliation, always seeking healing, always working to mend broken places, to work for the best in every situation. This is indeed a word from the Lord for unsettled times, and a word of hope for us.